Good morning. Welcome to Pivot Point. I'm your host, Barry Sacaro, and today we're going to continue our background, our starting point of attacking politics in Florida from the center as the middle. Now, what do I mean from the center as the middle? The I-4 corridor is the center of the state. Traditionally, to the south are consistently Democratic votes. Traditionally, to the north are consistently Republican votes. But the decisions of what's made by the I-4 corridor, traveling the interstate highway from Tampa to Jacksonville, are the control of the politics. And that's what we're doing. We're taking back politics. We are going, and we are not the radicals. We are not the far left, the far right. We are not looking for the wild stuff. We are the moderates. We are the middle. Welcome back to the middle. Politics, as usual, a traditional expectation. I understand many of our political groupings have moved towards their extremes, the far left, the far right. And oh my goodness, what each one says about the other are horrendous. Well, good, because we're not the far fringes. We are the middle. And you ignore us at your own, And we are the middle. Ignore us at your own danger. If you ignore the middle, just going for the extremes, what you're going to get is exactly what you were aiming for. You're not going to get elected. You're not going to get a part of good change. You're not going to reach what we seek to reach in politics, which is to become one choice. And that is, did it again. What we're seeking is consensus. And that choice where we all agree, Democrats, Republicans, independents, all of us agree that this is the choice. That's how we accomplish what we're doing. And we are doing it from the middle, without extremism, without name-calling and attacks. We are looking for a whole new shade of politics here in Florida and throughout. And that is politics of a different sort. The politics of normalcy, the politics of working people, the politics of parents. I don't want my children exposed to the extremes, left or right. I want my children to see what is the best plan for them. How do they become the people we want them to be? And so we do that by being the people of the middle. So we're going to talk about this idea of the middle. Why the middle? Why not one extreme or the other? And the answer is because most people are in the middle, because that's what we seek to improve. The middle gets us education that is not forcing one idea on our students or another, but exposing them to many ideas and guiding them to a consistent understanding of what they want. This is for our children. We want our jobs and industries the same way. We don't want wild swings where everything is expensive or everything is cheap. We want everything to be consistent. And so we are the middle, and we are producing this middle idea. How do we do it? We do it the same way our forefathers told us to do it. We practice democracy. We exercise democracy. We listen to the rhetoric. We decide for ourselves based on who we are, on our faith, on our politics, on how we see it, and we make a decision and move forward with it. That decision is a moderate decision. Now, I've said to you before, I did not start out as a moderate. I started out in the far left. It was Vietnam, and we were marching in the streets. The government, we felt, was not listening. The choices they were making were not ours. And so we could not be moderates. We were forced to be the extreme. And we succeeded with that and changed America. But we're back to moderation. And if we moderate, then our businesses and our industries and our stores and our prices will be moderate as well. It's not that prices won't ever go up. It's that when they go up, they'll go up slightly. not dramatically. As we watch what has gone on with the discussions about this trade war and about tariffs, tariffs were the thing that the whole world was the most careful about. A point here or a point there made a huge difference. Now we're in an age where 50, 100-point sweeps in tariffs are being instituted and threatened. We are not going to get a good economy with that kind of instability. We're not going to get food prices with that kind of instability. We're not going to get jobs with that kind of instability. Who? I have long hair and associate with people from the far left most of my life. Those people give me their opinions on what I do. Those opinions are our guidance, that what we listen to, they are our advisors, and they are the people who help us. And so they, if it's the extreme left or extreme right, advise us to be in a position with the extreme left or extreme right. I don't like that. I want a moderate position. I want a moderate position because I want our companies to do well. I want jobs to do well. I want opportunities for our children who are in school that make sense. And these wild swings do not make sense for our kids or our companies or our faith, for that matter. Stability, faith is what comes from, right? The same idea that's been the same all along. That's not a radical idea. That's a moderate idea. And so that's what we do. As a veteran of the United States Coast Guard, I can tell you that that's how I want our service to be offered as well. My dad was also in service. He was in the Army. When he was trained as a combat medic, he was a combat medic before and during the Korean War in Korea, the medics were exclusively white. But the president of the time, Harry Truman, had integrated the Army. And now there he was in the new American Army with all sides together. He told me the hardest part that they had was with the sergeants, because the sergeants just couldn't adjust to this new life. But this new life was the life that everybody wanted. The children of the South loved integration. They did well with their students. The football teams and sports teams did well with it. The community involvement did well with these ideas. Fort Hood, Texas, where he started, was that idea in integration with African Americans. For me, when I was in 1973, the United States Coast Guard, where I was in service, I was in New Jersey. I did not go to Vietnam, but I was in during Vietnam. But during this time, women were integrated into the service. Women were on the boat crews. Women were coxswains and officers and leaders. And this added to the experience and the safety and the providing of the military experience to all of us, men and women, and it made the waters safer because everybody was working together. Men did not have to be only certain jobs. Women did not have to be only certain jobs. Everybody could do everything. I'm pretty proud of that experience. I have a friend, and she was the first firewoman in Broward County. Later, she took the children her sister had and was unable to care for and took care of them. These are not small things. These are huge things that as a family, as a service person, as a first responder, we are looking for these opportunities, and we have gotten them now. And these opportunities exist for all of us. Oh, sure, there's this one that can't and that one that shouldn't, and a whole lot of people who wish they were someplace else. But we of the middle give them the opportunity. We are not telling our children that if you win or if you lose, it doesn't matter. We're telling our children, go out there and play sports and win. But the sports are for everybody. Lately, one of the parties has tried to eliminate a group of people who has gone through a change. Perhaps that is the right thing. Perhaps it's faith-based, but I don't think so. Because as a member of a family that includes transgender people, they're not looking to take over sports. They're looking to be able to participate in sports. This is a moderate approach. Okay, you want to say this one can't do this and that one can't do that. That's a moderate approach too, isn't it? But extreme approaches, which is how it's coming now, are not giving us the world that we want for our children. Not all of our children fit that mold. And no one has led them astray. No one has forced them to become something. They have learned it themselves. The whole world is available on the telephone. These children don't need a teacher to say you should become this or you can become that. They have that lesson, and they're teaching it to us. Those children deserve everything, regardless of their race, regardless of their religion, regardless of their parentage, regardless of where they were born. They deserve everything in our educational system. And I'm proud to have been a part of that. I spent the last 20 years teaching in speech. I hope I speak well enough for you today, because the lessons I taught affected how I do what I do. Of course, at that time, they did not want us as teachers speaking political truth. And so I was quiet for most of that 20 years. Now, I'm not so quiet. I'm Barry Sacco, and I'm your host here at Pivot Point. And although I may be a moderate, it doesn't make me less dedicated. It doesn't make me less consumed with these ideas and making things better. And I think most veterans feel that way. I think most people feel that way. I think the people who go are the faith community, doesn't matter what faith. And the Orthodox faiths, interestingly enough, in the last decade and a half or so, the extreme Catholics, Jews of Orthodox, Muslims of the same Orthodox faith, they keep coming closer and closer to each other because they are not the middle. They are the fringe. And there never was a point when I was a kid where we would expect Catholics and Jews and Muslims to be sitting together, not only at the same table, but supporting the same idea. And yet we are getting that now. I don't want that anymore. Now I want moderation. The extremes, yes, we know about the extremes. You heard me speak last week about the experiment in South America called Gran Colombia and how the failure of that, because of lack of moderation, came about. So we're back to fighting for the middle. And I ask you to join me in this fight for the middle. I ask you to join me in this effort at moderation, at this effort to participate in government. The Republicans and others have told their people not to do town halls, to stop the opportunity of allowing people to express their views because people are not expressing moderate views. Yep, but that's not the way to do it. The way is the way we're doing it. We're going to listen in moderation. We're going to speak in moderation. And we're going to act in moderation because that's who we are. And here at the Pivot Point, we can change Florida. We can change the South. And we can change the world through these moderations of actions. And you're going to help me, I hope. The dangers of the extremes are we're so caught up in winning that we lose the effect of what happens. The dangers of the extremes include instability and the cost of instability. Prices are going up right now, not because of tariffs, threatened tariffs, yes, but not because of the tariffs themselves, but because of the fear of these tariffs. Those prices are going up right now. There's a guy, his name is James Carville. He helped Bill Clinton become president. He had an expression which he spoke to the other side, but he spoke it to himself as well, because I've heard it spoken about Democrats as much as I've heard it said about Republicans, which is who he said it about. He said, "It's the economy, stupid." Yes, it's the economy, but it's not just the economy that going up slowly. It's the dramatic increases. It's the radical increases, the radical choices in there. I've never been a big fan of democracy and free trade because it's not fair. Fairness is moderate tariffs and trade leveling the playing field. That's the fairness that we seek. That's the fairness we can have if we fight from moderation. These dramatic shifts do not give us a good economy, and it's the economy, stupid. It makes prices go up a lot. I have a son, my youngest son, Uri, and he is a producer of events in the mode of tiki alcohol service. He makes stirs, cocktail stirs, for fancy events that are themed in tiki. His baseline material, the material that forms these stirs, has gone up in price 45%. 45%. No tariffs have been assigned to these products. Nothing like that. But everybody knows those are coming. And that instability costs us money. I understand rich people may be able to afford it. They don't want to. Poor people certainly can't afford it. Because what we lose in things like food and medicine and home and safety by living at the extreme is not a good plan. What else do we lose? We lose jobs. The governor of this state has had an ongoing fight with the largest employer of the state, and as a result, a multi-billion-dollar project of filmmaking was canceled because ruling authorities of the largest employer, Walt Disney World, said, maybe this isn't the place to be doing these kind of events. We can't be sure of what is coming next in government and what we are going to be faced with next. So these dramatic shifts cost jobs, cost money, cost the economy. There are 47 million people who went to Disney. What happens if 10% of them stop going? What happens to the supermarket, to the small businesses, to the jobs, to the people who clean up? Every one of them is affected by these lack of moderation. Governmental perception, when these things are done from the extreme, is also poor. For example, I don't think there are very many people in the United States who don't believe that the bureaucracy needed some trimming, needed some cutting back. We had too much. But to go through and arbitrarily fire literally millions of people, none of whom had done anything wrong, some of whom were accused of not working in a way that the richest man in the world liked. Others were accused of believing something different than the government itself. Millions of people heartlessly lost their jobs. Millions of people who are now new activists. If you are one of these government employees who lost your job, please come to Pivot Point events. We're going to talk about events very soon, but when these events come up, and they're coming quick, we want you there. We want to hear about your story. By the way, how are you getting there? Are you getting there on highways? Who rebuilds those highways? Are you flying there? I grew up near Newark Airport. I was born in Newark, grew up near Newark Airport. That is a direct result of cutting too much of the workforce. I don't mind cutting. I don't mind trimming. I mind arbitrary, and I mind doing it without care and understanding. This could have been done in a much nicer way that wouldn't turn everybody angry at somebody's new electric car, but would make everybody understand this was a sacrifice that had to be made. That sacrifice is allowable. But when we take it from the extreme, it's no longer a sacrifice. It's an imposition, and it's done on people who we don't agree with. So when we reach out to these groups and we ask them to participate in this idea of moderation, we do this with an understanding that they have suffered, that they have been forced to absorb anger and other things that were done for the purpose of getting people elected. If you need to trim the government because we want to keep taxes low or because we want to have some more social programs, why, that's a reasonable idea, and that kind of thing will go on. But if we're doing that for the sake of making billionaires more billions, if we're doing that for the sake of someone's political desires, that's not what we call a moderation, and that's not how we in the middle believe. So we're asking you to join us, participate with us, be a part of this movement of moderates, this movement of the middle is going to take over Florida. And I can tell you that for the same reason that all my Democratic friends who've been crying, oh my God, Florida, it's over for Florida, the extreme Republicans have taken over. Well, I don't want the extreme Republicans or the extreme Democrats. I want the extreme not to be what Florida is. I want Florida to be a gentle place, a place where retirees come, where families can build a life. That's what we had until this extremity came upon us. And now I'm looking for a home in Central Florida, and there are so many available in 55-plus communities because of these extremes, because they don't want to live in a state with these extremes, and because people aren't coming here to go to work and aren't coming here to raise their families. Schools are running. So how do we do it better? With a better heart. When people's jobs are lost or things are changed, we understand. We put in programs to help these people. We don't just arbitrarily fire millions of them. We don't arrest people who have legal right to be here because they put out a letter that said we don't agree with an ally of the United States. That's what happened. Most of you know this story, and I'm not going to repeat it because it's not necessary. It's necessary to understand that these extreme activities are what we are here to stop, and we are stopping them with our feet and our ears and our mouths. We are going to participate in efforts to make the middle the strongest point, which, of course, it already is. I understand the origins of MAGA, and I don't hold it against them that they want a different world. I hold it against them that they don't seek a different world in coordination with people of another persuasion, another language, another origin. They are not trying to reach out and make a better world. They are trying to impose their will upon us. And if you think that that's not happening, I ask you to speak to women who have been affected by the changes in politics and the changes in women's health care, changes in pregnancy and those kind of things, often the changes in medicine. And these extremes are not happening in a vacuum. They're happening as part of an ongoing series. And we of the middle, we of Pivot Point, are going to change it. So one of the ways we're going to change things is by events. And we will be running what will be monthly events. And we haven't got any information on that yet. So I want to tell you that to start with. But it's coming. So we're going to start out by designing ourselves a series of events and talk about how we make them work. These are the events of Pivot Point, and we will speak to you in our next broadcasts about where and when. But for now, let's talk about what. And the podcasts themselves. The podcasts give us information which we take out into the world and bring back to the podcast. I want to hear what you have to say. Whatever you hear from me, please write back to us. Before we finish, I will give you the emails that are now in place. But for now, let's talk about how we build an event. So we start with a place. And that place contains parking and little else. We are asking our audience to bring some chairs with them. The way we will set up goes as follows. You will walk in and be greeted. There will be a small stage area which political and organizational people will speak from. Those people will be given the right to speak. If they are saying something in a way that is inappropriate, you will be able to stand up and turn your back if it's very bad, raise your hand if something is wrong, and give them a chance to self-correct. Give the people who are speaking a chance to self-correct. As you move further into the event, you will see on one side booths set up as vendors, and on the other booths set up as organizations whose support they are seeking. If you need to make money, and a day off is something that you can't do, please join us as a vendor. The cost of the vendor will be, and how we get to this we'll talk at another time, but it will be at cost. We're not looking to make any profit from these vendors. We're giving people an opportunity. As you move further into the event, you will see the food. There are two basic elements to the food, and that is food trucks, trailers, and stands. And the other is a table set up for a table set up for potluck for people to bring food. If you bring food, please eat from that same table. It's there. If you would rather buy, please buy. But if you need to, if you're hungry, let all who are hungry come out and eat with us. There's a table full of food just waiting for you, and no cost at the door. No cost for parking, no cost to come in, no cost to listen. We do expect you to act in a moderate way. If you have problems with another group of people, keep them to yourself. If you can't do that, then we're not the place for you. This is not a place to fight with each other. It's a place to find common ground. And so we are setting up also, in addition to the stands, in addition to the vendors, in addition to the food, we will have several areas where people can talk about politics, about politicians, about what they've heard, what they've witnessed, and will participate with each other in this conversation. Because what we seek from this conversation with Democrats, Republicans, and independents, what we seek is consensus. And we're looking for ideas that we all agree on. I've got a couple of them that I'm playing with, and we'll talk about them more later, but it's these kind of ideas that make me a progressive, because they are ideas of progress. One of the ideas relates to the farmers. Right now, farmers are subsidized based on assumed profits. And while I appreciate the subsidy, I don't think that's the smartest way to do it. I think the smartest way to do it is to protect the ownership of these farms, these huge tracts of land, which we need desperately. And so those understanding and the change that we want to suggest is for people to be able to farm longer, for the farm to be protected. And we can do that at a lower cost. We can protect farms. We can offer insurance for seasons that need an extra season or two. There's an expression that farmers are only one bad crop away from bankruptcy. I really hope that's not true, but I know that it is. We need to make that different. Additionally, those farms should be given a choice. And so if you want to, the plan I have proposed, if you want to save the old way, you can keep it. If you want to change to the new way, you can change over. You can change over part of your land and save other parts to do one way and the other. This land, protecting this land, is what makes us enjoy living in these rural communities. This open space is a part of it, has value, and that value has to be recognized by the authorities and the taxation organizations. So what are we doing? We're giving them money. We're still giving them money. We're taking the money that we give them and doing it in a better way, providing more for less. That's the moderate way. This isn't, okay, we give this group and we don't give that group. If you're a farmer, we want to find a way to help you protect your land. And so these farms are there. Well, that also means that we need some government work in the small towns of America. The government has been heavily involved in the production of the urban areas. Now it's time to look at the small towns a little bit and lean into that, providing opportunity. So these moderate approaches to it cannot work without consensus, without coordinating with other groups. We take the groups that we are in and participate in political process where other groups also who agree with us. Now, some things, maybe you're not going to associate with a group like Planned Parenthood, and you will never stand with Planned Parenthood no matter what's being said. Okay, that's fine. But maybe there are groups that you will work with, groups of faith, groups of charity, groups of rescue, that you can find the right reasons to work with and support their ideas as they support yours. These are the moderate approaches to an America that's getting better. We find our people to agree with. I tell stories, and so forgive me if I tell them too long, because I know we're still on the forgive me if I tell this story too long, because I know we are on program of what will these new events look like. But the events are only a reflection of who we are. One of the other things that these events will have is a theme. These themes will change every week. Some themes that are being discussed include fishing contests, shooting range, only can be done at limited places, of course, chili cook-offs, barbecue cook-offs, baking cook-offs. These are part of why we come out, to commune with our neighbors, to meet with our neighbors, to find out who's got the best apple pie or the best chili. Personally, I think my rainbow chili will stack up against anybody. It is, by the way, vegan, giving us a larger audience. But that's okay. I'll wait for you to taste my rainbow chili for when we have our chili cook-off. In the meantime, I want you to start thinking about what you can do and what you'd like to do, what these ideas. So we have entertainment, we have politics, we have organizations that are there to make you aware of them and contribute to them. We have opportunities for you to purchase things. Sounds like a good time to me. And now we have finally some email, so you can start to communicate with me. I want everything. I want your opinions. I want your ideas. I want your videos. We'll put them together. For now, here are the first of the emails. pivotpointcentralflorida@gmail.com. That's PIVOTPOINTCENTRALL. I'm sorry, 1L. FLORIDA @gmail.com. Next, we have email for media submission. pivotpointmedia@FL. That's PIVOTPOINTPOINTMEIDIA@gmail.com. Send me anything you want, and for God's sake, tell me what you think. I'm not going to take attacks, but I will take positioning. Tell me what's good. We will talk about more of these things as we go on. Third one, Pivot Point Questions, FL, @gmail.com. And the fourth one, which I want, if you're thinking of being a vendor, I want you to consider emailing this, and it is pivotpointbizfl@gmail.com. pivotpointbizfl@gmail.com. And you can too also participate. If you are thinking you want to be a vendor, that's the next thing I'd like you to do is send me that, because I need a committee. I need people who are going to help me with that. You don't have to help much, but I want your opinion so we can make these choices together. If you are somebody who knows somebody who's a vendor, or you're a vendor yourself, you should be a member of the committee that does that. There will be benefits for committee members. There will also be costs for people who are not the members. but that's okay. Costs are literally a cost, and I need a committee to decide what those costs are. The events are planned with lots of discussion and lots of input, and this biz is a place for you to write to. We also have sponsorships and other activities. One of the things that is going on with these events is they are not just for Pivot Point's podcast. There are other podcasts that we have here at Popeye Productions, and those podcast information and opportunities are going to be at these events too, and you're going to get a chance to see them. Among them are ganja, which the ganja area will be restricted, both in age and in content, but you can come and see. As long as you're over 18, you will be allowed into the area. The smoking area for tobacco and other products will be in this restricted area that you must be 18 and show your information about that to be able to enter. So now if this idea sounds to you like, oh, I'd rather see it this way or that way, I want you to write back to me and tell me that. We're on the air now, so come and help. Again, pivotpointbizfl@gmail is where you want to be a member and a participant in our vendor activities. If you have an organization that you would like to present, that's also where you can go to reserve yourself one of the tables. We will not be providing covers. You will be expected to bring your own 10 by 10 or whatever cover, and that will be fine. If you want something else, we're open to discussions, and sponsorships are definitely available. So we'll help you figure it out if you've got an idea of what you want to do. As I said, we're going to be working with another one of our podcasts in a private area there. This is a sponsorship by them for the effort. Your sponsorship for what you think is important, be it a hospital, a political organization, or candidate. We're open to that. You want to sponsor breakfast? We're here. Okay? So let's build this event together. We're looking for places to go. There are lots of stuff as we get out of the Central Florida area that we can do. Right now we're looking for places in the Central Florida area. So if you've got some ideas for that, let us know. We're based out here near the intersection of Osceola and Polk County, the pivot point of the I-4 corridor. So start with that as an area. If you've got a good idea, show it to us. Hopefully by the next show, we're going to be able to say to you, here's the date and here's the place. But each show takes its own piece, brings its own elements to it. We already know how we're supposed to behave. How we're going to enforce that, that's another piece. I have those areas that will be set up for political discussion and discourse. I believe that in those areas, a moderator should be there to allow things to move smoothly. We want that discussion. We want that idea of what things should be. Just like I talked to you about my idea of how new type of social service plans, protecting farmers should be. We need these ideas to protect all of us. You know, we also need to do things for our kids. So while we're talking about what is going to go on at the events, we will have children's areas. We will have storytelling that is designed without politics. This is not the battle over the 1609 project versus we're not doing that. We're going to tell our kids good stories. Stories that make them proud. Stories that make them excited. Stories that make them interested. And we're going to do that in the same way as we're going to let other people tell us stories. Stories about politics, stories about dreams, stories about opportunities. And in those stories, in those discussions, in that willingness to hear, we are going to change the world. Change the world right there. The simple openness of listening to your neighbor, of being willing to talk to your neighbor and share food and share ideas and holidays. That's how we build a better America, a better South, a better Florida, and a better Central Florida and I-4 corridor. So if you're thinking, how do I take care of my kids while still doing politics, you can do it, because we're setting it up to do that. We want you there and your children. Nobody's going to try and convert them to be one thing or another, but we will be talking about politics. Children will be allowed at certain points and not at others. That idea continues to be a part of this process. Age appropriate. So while we're on a discussion about age appropriate and have been discussing these ideas of progress and progressive and programs, I have a program that I will throw out to you. I've talked about for some years. The program is called Vote 16, and it's a new idea. It's allowing high school students age 16 and 17 to vote for exclusively the local school board and to involve the children themselves in the decision-making of what goes on in the schools that they attend. This is a lesson in democracy our children will not long forget. And they forget at their own peril, because those children know what they want. I spent 20 years as a teacher, and I know that if I really wanted to, I could create a school that the children would love to. That school would have a game room with video games, couches, and sports that co-opted with other places. This school would have lots of opportunities. It would also be open a lot of hours, and you could pick your own 35 or 40 hours out of that. It's a great idea. And if I put that school with that program into Central Florida or South Florida or even North Florida, and those kids be fighting to get in that program, wouldn't they? And we could make a program that those kids are dying to get into. Good. So we need to do politics the same way. We do need to give the kids what they want, and we need to respect them. And because of that, we're going to be doing Pivot Point on Twitch very soon, and I will keep you informed on that. You can share that with your children. They will know what that means, and we will talk from there as we continue. Lots of great stuff happening, and within these podcasts, lots of messages and information. But the point is, you got to participate. You got to jump in. You got to take both feet and step in there, because you are what makes the difference. I can call for moderates all that I want. And I can even listen to political people who claim to be moderates and are not. And I can recognize that. I still need you there to recognize these things together, to participate in these things together, to give ourselves and our families these opportunities together, to share what we know with our neighbors and what we can learn from our neighbors. We are fortunate to have a diverse community in Central Florida. We are not looking for exclusivity. We are looking for diversity, because that brings us the business and the messages that we need. And so we've been over here advocating for the middle, and over here planning events and activities that we're going to do together. And so I guess that's the end of our weekly show. Thank you for being a part of Pivot Point. Thank you. I'm your host, Barry Saccharo. Again, I want to repeat the emails for you to use. Excuse me as I'm a little slower, but gotta get it. The emails are pivotpointofcentralflorida@gmail.com, the main podcast email, pivotpointmediafl@gmail.com, which is for any videos or content that you would like to include. Email pivotpointquestionsfl for your questions, and email pivotpointbizfl@gmail.com, which is where you join if you want to be a part of making this happen. And I really need some help with these events. So if you've got an idea, you want to help, please join us. No amount of volunteerism is too small or too big. Tell me you want to be a part of it, and you will be. And I promise you'll be able to have some benefits from there as well. Thank you all for this week's time. Thank you all for joining us. And we'll see you next week at Pivot Point Podcast. And I'm your host, Barry Saccharo. Have a great week.